They made me feel like such a bad mom.
You're not. You made the biggest choice a mother could make and the hardest one.
You did what you knew was best for your babies at that time, and you should never, ever, ever apologize for that, feel guilty for that, feel any kind of shame for that. Ever.
I've been a lot of things in my life. I've been a bank robber and a prisoner, but being a shaman is my calling. Ayahuasca is a Schedule I narcotic, the same as heroin and LSD. But it's not a drug, it's medicine. And in my church, it's a sacrament. We can do in 2 days what conventional therapy may take years to do, but only if you are willing to step into the pain. Like I said, keep your intentions on point. Good job, good job. Nicholas Butts is my stepson. He is our last child in a line of 6 between me and Terry. He's not my biological son, he is my stepson, but I love him like my own. There's nothing I don't trust Nick with, including my brew. We always want to make sure our edge here is clean, especially after doing that much mixing. Nick has been on a path of being an assistant shaman for the last 5 years. He has worked with me in the lab, always cleaning up, always doing the shit jobs. There we go, just sit there. But you know what? He showed me that he really does want this.
I've always been someone that wanted to help people growing up. Even whenever I was in elementary and such, I was always the kid that tried to help anyone and everyone when they needed a hand. And Steve encouraged me whenever I was like, hey, I want to do this. And he was like, well, if you really want to do it, just keep practicing, keep putting your effort into it.
Feel that lid, that's what it should always feel like, excellent. Now is the time for Nick to move forward in his own self-development and his own self-progression. He's got to be comfortable within the medicine. Tonight, we're gonna be introducing Nick to ayahuasca for his first really deep journey.
It's important for Nick to drink so that he has an understanding of what people are going through, you know, when he's helping them through their journeys.
Well, Nick, it very much pleases me to be about to give you your first full cup of ayahuasca. You got to make your own presence known among the different spirits and entities. That's part of the path to becoming a shaman.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You a little nervous? I would be too. Peace and progression.
Peace and progression.
Good job. From Terry, I feel, of course, apprehension. You know, you can just imagine if that was your child laying there motionless. It's easy to let your imagination run wild. Is he okay? Can I reach over and hug him and feel him like he was in the cradle? And she also knows logically she can't. Right now, Nick is on a path of independence.
After having my first cup, I could sort of feel like a little bit of a wave going on. Visually, things kind of started to rock a little bit. Kind of like a blast of imagery just flying by, just a lot of things going on. Like I could feel that I'm physically there. I can still feel the cot under me, but I feel sort of weightless in a way. Kind of like a spider being on its web. At one point, I could have swore I saw Steve's face kind of just smirking at me a little bit from the background.
Nick has the heart and the spirit and the soul to do this. But I also know that he's going to have to prove himself worthy and responsible, because one day I'm going to have to leave Nick. And that's why I'm willing to invest the time it's going to take to make Nick a master shaman and to eventually give him the reins of the church.
It's so difficult to explain when you wake up from an overdose because you know that they've just revived you. You know that you f***ed up big time. I was like, damn, Nate, come on, like, really? Like, again? About 4 years ago, I tried opiates for the first time. It was in the form of heroin. That relationship ended with that drug about 2 years ago, and that's when I started taking Suboxone, the medication they give you for withdrawal symptoms. But, you know, with the Suboxone, it's pretty much like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You know, there's still this huge hole underneath there that needs to be dealt with, and if anything, you know, I'm not dealing with that when I'm, you know, continuing to take something that's artificially making me content and happy. I just want to be able to just leave it behind when I leave from this place and just not go back to it again.
When I first came to Ayahuasca about 2 years ago, I was on my last straw. I mean, I hit rock bottom. I was using crystal meth and I had overdosed, and I would constantly beat myself up and just have these thoughts in my brain that would just eat me alive. I haven't done drugs since I've done ayahuasca. Mother Aya showed me that I was worth more than what I thought. I wanted my mom to come to Ayahuasca because she's got a lot of her own stuff that she needs to work on.
I was injured at work in 2006, and I'm in a lot of pain. I have steel rods in my back, and my legs don't work. And I almost committed suicide because of the pain. I have a lot of intentions for coming here. Physical healing and mentally, I've been trying to change myself and my issues for years and years and years. But I've had not much success on my own. I hope this will be the answer.
Hey, come on in.
Hey,
I'm Walter.
nice to meet you, Walter.
How you doing, dude?
Thank you all very much for coming. The first thing we are going to do today is we will be taking all car keys and cell phones. If you all would like to get your things and follow me, we will go down and you will see where you will be spending the next few days. Y'all can come on in, find you a bed.
Wow-wee.
With this group, we have Sheila and Ryan, we have Nathan, and we have Dina.
I've been dealing with depression and anxiety for about 16 years now. I was raped when I was 14. It was a family member. So I can't trust anybody else now. I'm looking to heal from the mistrust that I feel from all of the things that have happened in the past. Wow, I didn't expect to get this emotional. I really didn't.
Everybody, I'm Steve Hupp, Chief Shaman of Ayahuasca Native America's Church. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Good? Ryan, this is like old times here, seeing you across the chair here from me, you know. And who is this beautiful woman to your left?
I'm his mother.
I couldn't have told a bit. Let me shake your hand,
I love
Sheila.
you.
I love you too. And thank you for
I love
all
you
your
really for all you've done for my son.
Well, thank you. Now, just to let y'all know, the reason you had to give up your car keys was because of this gentleman right here. He changed my whole rules when it come to car keys. Because in the middle of his first night journey, and he went out to get a pack of cigarettes from his car and drove away.
Really?
Pretty much in his underwear and everything. Left, what? And I mean, was gone. Oh, scared me to death, man. Had me pacing for, because you know, I don't want to call the cops on him, but at some point I have to, because yeah, you're out here tripping and driving.
Right.
You know, I can't let this go. But anyway, he made it home. Everything worked out for the best. And we journeyed the second day, and guess what? Everything worked out. Everything went fine. But sometimes if you're in a deep experience, you can kind of get overwhelmed, and that's what happened to him. He had a flash, and and he just wanted to run. He ain't the first one. That's why we kind of keep y'all locked up and sequestered a little bit.
We're gonna give you a cup, we're gonna wait about 20 minutes, and we're gonna give you a second cup after that, nothing for 2 hours. After that, as long as you are handling the experience in a good way, I will pour you more.
You know, my nervousness was at its peak. I started to feel overwhelming anxiety. Like, what is this gonna be like? Is it gonna take me to a different world? Am I gonna have a horrible time? Like, am I gonna end up freaking out?
I'm scared. I'm not really 100% sure that ayahuasca is going to help me. Hopefully it brings me an amazing experience.
I was very nervous, very fearful of going on a bad trip and not coming back.
Ayahuasca is a hallucinogenic tea made with plants from the Amazon, and it is the strongest psychedelic known to man. But this isn't like LSD. Ayahuasca is a portal to your inner self, your subconscious. And through that portal, you're gonna meet a goddess we call Mother Ea. When your journey first takes off, you may feel euphoria until boom, the spike hits and the purge begins. You may laugh, you may cry, and you may do both at the same time. You may puke or shit, but each of those purges are a physical manifestation of an emotional release. That's when you truly find healing.
As soon as I drank, I felt this wave of calm just come down my body. My parents were both, you know, pretty involved with drugs. They weren't suitable to be parents, so I actually lived with my grandparents. My dad spent most of my childhood in prison. He actually ended up dying of a drug overdose. So I always told myself growing up, like, I'm never gonna do drugs. My son's mother, I met her through a friend. We were ultimately together for 5.5 years. We have one son, love him to death, he's 5 now. I had taken a couple months off from work to watch our son. I was there with him full time. So when I came home and she wasn't there and my son wasn't there, it really made me feel horrible. You know, it just made me feel like I was just a babysitter. She just packed all of her stuff, she left. She didn't say, like, you know, I'm leaving or anything like that. I just came home and everything was gone, including my son. It was really rough and I didn't know how to cope with that. And that led to severe drinking, and then after that, into the opiates. When I lost my son's mom, I remember crying, bawling the whole night. My grandmother, Nancy, she sat there with me the whole night. And it's, you know, just having somebody in that way, it's just like, it's such a beautiful thing. Sometimes I think to myself, you know, for everything that she's done, like, I shouldn't be feeling this sad. And I tell her all the time, don't feel bad that I feel negative. Like, you've already done, like, so much. So, yeah, that's where we're at with that.
Are we supposed to drink more?
You can have more if you want it.
You can tell Sheila is in a lot of pain and a lot of discomfort. Mother Ea can work with physical pain, she can work with psychological pain, and she can work with spiritual pain. The entities that she works with and through have a way of healing that I really can't explain. All I know is I set the arena, I ask Mother to come and join us, and I get out of the way.
I laid down and asked Mother I had to take the pain from me so I could relax more, and she came right away. She was letting me know, I'm here, it's about time, you got your butt here, and we gotta get to work now. When Ryan was about 11 months old, his dad's drinking got worse. One day he smacked him so hard, he knocked him out of the chair. And One night, he was really, really intoxicated when he came in about 3 o'clock in the morning. He put the pillow over my head and raped me. When I opened my eyes, Ryan was standing at the end of the bed. Instantly, my heart just busted into a tiny million pieces that he had seen that.
Most of the part that I remember from it was him laying in bed crying and just screamed, talking about he just wanted to die, and he jumped up and kicked me in the chest and this crazy, crazy shit.
I didn't leave my husband for a long time after that. I couldn't. I didn't have a job or money, but he did it again a few years later. That was the day I decided I had to leave him. I didn't want to leave my kids there. They wouldn't come with me. My heart was broken. In my house, we had rules in bedtime, and they had chores. At their dad's house, there was none of that, and he bought them cigarettes. It was just a free-for-all. Ryan was 17 when I left. By this point, he was doing drugs and drinking a lot.
I definitely resented my mom. I felt like, why in the hell is she doing this to me? And I just couldn't grasp it. I was just, I guess, just like, screw this. I don't want no part of it.
I have 3 kids, and they're all 3 drug addicts. I have tons of guilt from that. Guilt will you up. And I think the guilt and shame are a big cause of my pain.
Nathan is here because he was an opiate addict on Suboxone. Suboxone is a drug used to keep the dope sick away, to keep the physical withdrawal symptoms at bay, to help the mind be a little more clear so they're not so focused on where's my next fix coming from. But it is not a cure, and that's why you got to get to the root of the problem. Please have a seat there. I chose the arena of reflection for Nathan because I felt Nathan had to deal with some very deep guilt. And we had to get him to look at himself, to let this pocket of shit go out of his head, because that's what was helping him cling to this addiction. And I wanted Nathan to see that, and I wanted him to look at himself from many different angles where he couldn't turn away. For right now, I just want you to sit there and kind of take in all the different reflection, all the different areas and angles that's coming in for you. Now, does addiction run in your family, or?
Yeah, my father passed away of a drug overdose.
Okay. What would your son be able to say to you to keep you working towards sobriety? Because you've been that son.
Yeah, my son does have a huge impact. You know, his just, even at 5 years old, very encouraging, very loving person. And that's why I don't want this to be in the picture when he's older. Like, and even now, so I don't want it in the picture.
When did your opiate problem start?
So yeah, that was 4 years ago in October.
Tell me about your first OD.
I was driving and I crashed my car.
What about the second time?
The second time I was in my house and my grandmother saved my life. She had gone to bed and she came out and she obviously saw that I was on the floor and that I wasn't breathing. So she gave me CPR and called the ambulance.
Wow, she resuscitated you.
She did, that's correct.
You harbor some guilt where your grandmother was concerned that she had to resuscitate you, because I guarantee it, that was brutal on her.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was hard to watch her cry.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure it really jacked her up. I want you to forgive yourself for that guilt, because I'm sure she has already forgiven you.
She has.
But I feel from you that you haven't quite forgiven yourself for that, because your demeanor totally changed when we went into that event. For right now, I want you to sit here and just meditate in the glow of these lights, and I want you to just focus on the person that Nathan is trying to become. I want you to focus on, if Nathan could paint the perfect Nathan, what would that Nathan look like? Nathan's body language and demeanor told me his self-esteem is in the basement. He couldn't stand to make eye contact with himself. Even his whole aura seemed to shrink at this one mention of this one day in an addict's life. This is what must be brought to the surface to be purged. There's no drug to turn to. Mother ain't gonna let you. Mother's gonna hold up this mirror and say, look at yourself and love yourself, even with all your flaws, and that's when things will start to get better.
If you could, I'd like for you to have a seat right here, Miss Dana.
I would not let Nick, as my assistant shaman, ever become a one-trick pony. He has to be well-rounded. And the first thing you gotta do is be patient and learn how to communicate. We judge nothing. For this ceremony, I want Nick to work with Dina to make a negative sigil, for her to identify what she needs to let go, and that's not gonna be easy for her. We have to do it in such a way not to shut this wounded soul down, but to help this wounded soul heal.
Steve wanted me to do a little bit of an exercise with you here. You're gonna wanna make a list of things that you don't like personally about you, and it can be as personal as you want or just simple things that you feel kind of hold you back in life.
Okay.
My very first memory in life, I was probably 3 or 4, and I remember waking up to the babysitter's son molesting me. I was raped when I was 14, and I kept it to myself, and I didn't tell anybody for years and years. I got really good at internalizing things and hiding them. I was in an 8-year-long relationship with a man that I loved very, very, very much, and we were married for 4 of those years. He saved me from a lot of heartache, but I kept swinging back and forth between the depression and the extreme happiness. It's like I couldn't breathe. It was a roller coaster of happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to explain it to him. I could tell that he wasn't there anymore, like emotionally and physically, like he wasn't there. And I said as much, and he was like, I think we need to get a divorce. Like, I'm not happy anymore. And that was it. It hurt. It hurt a lot. I was very suicidal. There was a couple of times, actually, that I got my van up to very high speeds, and I was gonna wreck it. I eventually moved out and moved in with my dad, and I left my 2 boys with their father in North Carolina because honestly, I don't feel like I could have done the best job at raising them. I want my children to have the best life that they can have. So I'm here to make sure that that happens.
How are y'all doing? I'm proud of each and every one of you. All of you have already laid a very strong foundation for a very powerful experience tonight. Tonight, the medicine's a little stronger, so remember your tenets, just is, accept and allow, and relax.
If you all get to a point where you want more this evening, just like last night, you know, as long as you're within reason, absolutely.
To see a mother and a son sitting here beside me, this is just huge. How do you feel this morning when you got it?
I got a lot of pain. It started in the night.
Hopefully we can adjust that tonight.
Mother Aya was very kind and compassionate and loving with me last night, and I think tonight shit's gonna get deep. And it's probably not gonna be pretty.
I drank off the brew. I started to really almost like throw it up. And I went outside with Walter to, you know, smoke a cigarette before he gets started. And I think I got about halfway through my cigarette before the bush in front of me started to really, you know, start going. It was moving, and I sat there to myself and I said, holy shit, we're gonna be in for a ride tonight. At that point in time, I had some pretty intense visuals. Everything was swirling around on top of me. I was hearing woo, 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 woo. The first thing I saw, I would consider them to be demons. There was massive amounts of them, and their faces were all kind of nasty and grimacing, and they had like gnashing teeth. And I think that those were all the negative things inside of me. I had this one scene where I saw a Suboxone. The thing was huge, like I saw it in my head, gigantic. And I saw something punctured right through that piece of medication. That's when I started to like see the shackles. I started to hear the mantra, this is slavery, this is bondage, this is not for you. This is slavery, this is bondage, this is not for you. And it was at that point I started to kind of feel like, wow, holy cow, just let it go, just let it go. And at that point, I really let it go.
Just let it go.
I had really just purged out some very negative stuff. I felt amazing.
I got you. I got you. Just come on down. Sheila is here for physical healing, spiritual healing, and psychological healing. Come on in. And if you would, sit
Which
right.
end is my head?
Your head's
Put
right
your head
here.
right
We
up
want
here
to try
at
to
the
get
front.
your head right
Oh,
there.
I see it.
The plan for Sheila tonight, we have a chakra bed that we're going to use to get her chakras realigned and open.
There you go.
Your chakras are energy points for different aspects of your physical body. I hope that she gets the spiritual healing to release and let go, and I hope she finds peace.
We put this focus on this ceremony to Mother Aya as removing our guilt,
Okay,
because
I'm
carrying
for
that
it.
guilt is not working for you.
See, it's not just Ryan. I've got 3 drug addict kids. All 3 of my kids. Not just me, but other people always put it on the mother. Well, if you would have whipped them more, if you would have...
Were you there? Yes, you were. Was it all on you? No, it was not. There was a whole synergy of things. One, you were in a toxic relationship with a person of predatory instincts and predatory desires. That wasn't your fault either. You got children who are alive because you got them there in a up situation.
I went 90 miles an hour into the hospital last time he OD'd. I was afraid, very afraid. He kept saying, I'm dying, I'm dying, I'm dying, and telling me how sorry he was
Okay.
for making my life miserable and putting me through hell. I just kept punching him, saying, don't die, you got those little girls.
What I want you to do, sweetie, is you're laying there for your sacral chakra. I know you went through some abuse, and I want you to focus on letting that go and letting Mother Aya heal the wounds from that. That should not be a part of who you are. You still have 3 children. You have beautiful grandbabies. So what I want you to focus on also, being healthy and letting Mother Aya heal the wounds. Don't be afraid to speak about your guilt, your fears, your hopes. Don't be afraid to offer that motherly advice that you have. Don't be afraid to issue that ass chewing either.
All the guilt and all the self-hatred and all the self-loathing in the world ain't gonna change 1 minute of that past. But letting go of all that shit could definitely change every minute of your future.
I'm all for that.
Now, Sheila, we'd like you to sit here and just be at peace, meditate, kind of take in all the energy coming to you. Like that.
I felt the ayahuasca hit me, and all of a sudden, I left my body. I saw these different shapes and patterns, a lot of little moving parts and gears. And then I would hear a woman's laughter. I was the universe. And then I felt my face. I was feeling around like, whose body is this? It wasn't mine. And I had no pain for the first time since 2006. I got the urge to touch my toes, which I'm incapable of doing because I have steel rods in my back. And a little piece of me was like, really? You think you're gonna touch your toes? And I bent completely in half. And I didn't just touch my toes, I like stayed there. I was just thanking Mother Aya constantly. She took away the blockage that I had to healing myself in that moment.
I can sit like Indian style.
Dina is here because she has lost, how would you say, trust in her own instincts. Tonight, we're gonna talk about some real painful stuff. I want the tears of her pain to be on that sigil. Come on up, come on up. That's what we're gonna use to energize this sigil before she lays it in the fire and watches it disintegrate. I had instructed Nick today to have you prepare a negative sigil, some of the things that you wish to remove from yourself, if you could. Could you kind of explain a little bit about what you put together here before we set it off to the fire?
This one is anxiety
Okay,
and fear and indecision.
okay.
It takes me a long time to make decisions anymore. I've made so many bad decisions that I'm absolutely terrified. You know, the consequences of a bad decision are so much heavier now.
Which adds to your anxiety,
Yeah.
which feeds this whole circle
Which is
of shit.
based on fear.
If you're scared to act and you're scared to bust a move because all the decisions seem so big and so large and that each one is life and death and all the above, where do you enjoy your life?
Exactly.
Can I ask you where your bad decisions started?
I gave my ex-husband custody of my babies. He's much more stable than I am. The swinging between the depression and anxiety, it's not healthy for children, and they needed to have the best opportunity that they could have. And I wanted to make sure that they did. So I decided that he was the best option. And so many people judged me for it.
They're not in your shoes.
And you made a beautiful choice in a time of instability not to drag your kids through that muck. You sacrificed yourself for that, and you let them tears flow on that sigil because we're going to turn that loose to the universe as well.
They made me feel like such a bad mom.
You're not. You made the biggest choice a mother could make and the hardest one. You're working on you right now. And when you get yourself right, then you're going to be right with them kids and you're going to be right with him.
Regardless of how it made you feel, regardless of how it made you hurt, regardless of what everybody else was saying to you, never, ever, ever apologize for that, feel guilty for that, feel any kind of shame for that. Ever.
I really needed to hear that. I don't even celebrate Mother's Day.
You will from now on.
Yes, you will.
Now, I would like you to take that sigil. I want you to think about it, everything we talked about. Now let that shit go in that fire.
I think at that moment, it just really dawned on her that she had made the right decision. And for her to realize that, I think, was a very powerful moment of healing. And I wanted her to know, I do understand that feeling. And I think instead of being condemned for it, she should be congratulated for it, because that took strength that a lot of people don't have. When I split up with my kid's dad, my oldest son was big enough to decide where he wanted to stay. And he wanted to stay with his daddy. And it broke my heart.
but I let him do it because it's what he wanted. I know what that feels like. So don't you ever, ever let them people tell you, ever, that you did something wrong, because you didn't.
With the ayahuasca running through me, I was getting a very relaxed sensation. When I closed my eyes, I immediately saw what looked like space, like stars and galaxies and bright colors whizzing by really quickly. And I saw a woman, and she was beautiful. And as soon as she made eye contact with me, she disappeared. And then I saw ribbons of color, like every color in the rainbow. It was beautiful. I felt a lot of love. There was a lot of feeling to it. It was nice.
Ayahuasca was definitely worth it for me. I woke up in the morning and I felt great. I didn't really feel the need to put anything in my system. I had felt like I had really released some very, very negative energy, I guess is the best word to say it, through the purge.
I feel great today. Some people say that ayahuasca is a drug. It is not a drug, it's a medicine. It's an antidote that the universe uses to help you overcome your personal issues.
How are we doing, Sheila?
Good. Really, really good. I started walking down to the van to get my clothes, and I thought, I wonder if I can run. And I ran. Then I ran up the hill.
How long has it been since you've done those
I
things?
can't remember the last time I ran.
Everything went so good with last night, and she seems to be doing so amazing, not feeling any pain, and I think that in itself is a true gift. I mean, it's just an amazing medicine, it really is.
Mother Aya has worked a miracle with you.
I think I got a new lease on life, and I'm gonna go with it. And I get to hang out with him some more.
And I'm envious of you. And I'll tell you why. I never had a relationship like this with my mother. Never. And I regret it.
I've told Steve and Terry many times I am eternally grateful for you and for what you're doing in the last few years since Ryan did the ceremony. Oh, when I see him playing with his kids, I'll have this gratitude for Steve and Terry for that he's here, because I don't think he would be here if it wasn't for them and Mother Aya.
I like it here. I like this house.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. It is definitely that. The biggest lesson that I've taken away from this journey is I'm not as bad a mother as I thought I was. It's huge for me. And I can't wait to see their little faces and squish them and give them kisses all over.
What do I say to your kid?
I love you guys so much.
Hello. I look around at the people that I see gathered here before me, and I see completely different people than walked through that door. Each of you are going to have to go through some trials and tribulations. Some of that old thought patterns will creep in. It's called life. Now you have the awareness to catch it before it becomes a tidal wave, because it's much easier while it's a small trickle than to allow it to gain momentum.
Ayahuasca for me, it's hard to put it into words really, but love. I mean, love would be the best word for it. I've died twice. I've been beat up, dragged through hell and back, and it's helped me immensely. And if it can do that for me, then it could do it for a lot of people.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
In the future, I do hope to become a full-fledged shaman, because I just simply feel like this is something that could really be helpful for people.
Safe travels, everybody.
It's really nice watching people just kind of change from the day they walk in to the day that they walk out. Kind of like watching a caterpillar turn into a butterfly.
When I came to Ayahuasca, I was in a lot of pain and I struggled to get up the hill with my walker. Now I've run up and down the hill, and that's a miracle. Great doesn't even come close to how I feel. Magnanimous or some big word.
Leaving here, I really do feel lighter. I'm really grateful for this experience because it showed me a lot of things that, I otherwise wouldn't have noticed about myself. I'm just excited to get back home and really see where the rubber hits the road, really put my nose to the grindstone.
Many people get caught up in the idea that they went through the worst of anybody. And I got news for you. Most of the people I've met, they ain't went through the worst of anything. They went through their worst. That's why I'm so open with my story. It ain't such that I, want to be a Billy badass bank robber. I want to let people know I'm the biggest at this table, not you. And if I got here, you can too.
3 months after ayahuasca, I feel much better. I've gotten engaged. I'm feeling really good 3 months later.
I actually had an amazing experience. I had zero pain. The ceremony gave me so much hope that I know it can go away, that I can be healed.
As far as the medication goes, I've been able to get myself on a much lower and more manageable dose. Living in the moment is definitely a huge thing. Not worrying too much about the past, which is something that I really struggled for the longest time to, be able to do. So, again, so grateful for the experience.